everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, um, I've been working a lot lately on my spreadsheets. You may recall if you watched some of my other videos that this month I felt like I was kind of in a funk. And it's mostly because just like, especially at the beginning of the month, there were just like so many things going on, so much that we had to do with the homestead and family and getting sick and just like all these different things that kind of like got in my way of just really doing good work and studying and finding things and stuff like that. And so I'm coming out of that funk now. And as I'm putting together more and more these quotes together and adding them to my spreadsheets, there's a bunch of just like onesies and twosies that probably aren't going to see a video anytime soon as part of like a series or like a where it's the main topic of a video, because it's going to take time to find more quotes to go along with these ones. So I figured, you know what, because I'm excited about them, why don't I just like show you some of what I found for now. So this is going to be just a mixed selection of um, different topics. So I'm going to go through that, and I think they're pretty good. You'll see. And then I haven't updated the tracker since my last video, so this is where we stood in case you didn't see that video. We're at 5,349 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared, 520 people that have joined the challenge. Please make that number go up. Please join. Let me know once you've shared a Book of Mormon, and just help to give incentive to other people to do the same thing. That's the whole point of this. It's not a competition, like some people have said. It's a way to incentivize people to act instead of just be stagnant and not do anything. And as you can see, as you act, there are results that come of that. So act, and then let me know. Okay, so we are on my quotes A through Z spreadsheet. You can see it down here. This tab right here is the first one of all my different tabs that I have. So the first one is Adam, and I came across this essentially as I was like studying for Adam about Adam on Diamond, right? Okay, so it says the priesthood was first given to Adam. He obtained the first presidency and held the keys of it from generation to generation. He obtained it in the creation before the world was formed, as in Genesis. He had dominion given him over every living creature. He is Michael, the archangel, spoken of in the scriptures. Then to Noah, who is Gabriel, he stands next in authority to Adam in the priesthood. And I don't know if you ever realized that. In fact, I think we read this a while ago, so this isn't really too new to me, but it's been some time. But I guess that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I would have maybe thought, okay, maybe it goes like Adam and then Seth, because Abel was killed by Cain, and Seth was essentially the next patriarch in this line that's come down to us today. But no, I guess it goes Adam and then Noah, which I guess that makes sense because they were both in their own way the first man. Adam literally being the first man, and then Noah being the first man or patriarch of the post-Diluvian world, right? So anyway, okay, so that's how it goes. Adam, and then Gabriel, which is his like pre-mortal name, I guess, or his, just like how Michael is Adam's pre-mortal name. So you have Gabriel, who's Noah. Okay, so he stands next in authority to Adam in the priesthood. He was called of God to this office and was the father of all living in his day, and to him was given the dominion. These men held keys first on earth and then in heaven. The priesthood is an everlasting principle and existed with God from eternity and will to eternity, without beginning of days or end of years. The keys have been brought from heaven whenever the gospel is sent. Now look at this. When they are revealed from heaven, it is by Adam's authority. By Adam's authority. So this entire 6,000 years that we've been going through, whatever the dispensation was, it was under his authority that keys were being given. And of course, he's under Christ, but he's the one that's like in that position, right? Oh, and by the way, this I should have said this at the start. This is Joseph Smith himself speaking. This is in Journal of Discourses, Volume 6, pages 237 to 238. Okay, Joseph Smith is saying this. Okay, Daniel chapter 7. You know, I'm going to fix that because that's bugging me. I'm going to capitalize that. I'm not going to change the Roman numerals because that's how it is in the text. But okay, and I'm going to get rid of that period. Okay, Daniel chapter 7 speaks of the Ancient of Days. He means the oldest man, our father Adam, Michael. He will call his children together and hold a council with them to prepare them for the coming of the Son of Man. He, Adam, is the father of the human family and presides over the spirits of all men, and all that have had the keys must stand before him in this grand council. Makes sense. You know, if he's the one that's ultimately had the authority over the keys, no, it makes sense. Okay, this may take place before some of us leave this stage of action. The Son of Man stands before him, and there is given him glory and dominion, meaning Christ. Adam delivers up his stewardship to Christ, uh, that which was delivered to him in holding the keys of the universe, but retains his standing as head of the human family. So that's interesting, right? And I'm sure that you already knew that, but it makes sense why Adam is such a key player in Adamondiaman, and there's a lot of things that go on with Adamondiaman. I'm going to do a separate video about it in the near future. I was hoping to do it this week, but I guess it's going to be next week. But this is one of the things, the keys, and then also the political kingdom of Christ is going to start at Adamondiaman based on what I researched. There's going to be a type of sacrament meeting there. There's going to be multiple sessions that have different purposes, and it would seem to me, I haven't really been able to nail this down, but it would seem to me that the resurrection would probably have taken place by this time, or at least by by the time of the session where you deliver your report if you've held keys, because my understanding is that all righteous people will be there. And there's going to be a point where those that have held keys are going to deliver up a report. And so, and from all ages of time, not just now, all ages of time. So I would think that they would maybe be doing that when they're resurrected, opposed to still being spirits. But I don't actually know. So if you have the answer to that, let me know. Unless it's in the Millennial Messiah, because I'm going to go through that as I prepare for my Adamondiaman video. That's where we get a wealth of information about Adamondiaman is from that book. But all right, so let's go ahead and move on. And then I'll change this so that I know that we've already talked about it. Okay, I have this one that I'm preparing, apostasy versus following church authorities. That'll be another video. Okay, angels. Okay, this is also from Joseph Smith Jr., and this is from the same discourse, but this is on page 240. And this discourse, by the way, is packed with information. So, okay, what does he say here? We may look for angels and receive their ministration, but we are to try the spirits and prove them, for it is often the case that men make a mistake in regard to these things. That's already starting this off pretty like with a bang. Now, I don't know exactly if he's referring to, um, I can't even remember. I think it's with the Aaronic priesthood that you have the ministering of angels, and I can't remember if that begins with deacon. It's been so long since I've thought about it. All I know is that the Aaronic priesthood, um, that's part of it, is the ministration of angels. So I don't know if that's what he's talking about or just everybody in general. Um, but okay, so let's continue. I'm sure that it probably does include everybody, because I'm sure that if you're a member of the church, you've been baptized, have the Holy Ghost, you can have special protection, and especially for sure when you go to the temple. There's been a lot of comments from general authorities saying that angels protect you when you go to the temple, that you come out of the temple with protection from angels. But anyway, okay, so God has ordained that when he has communicated, no vision is to be taken but what you see by the seeing of the eye or what you hear by the hearing of the ear. Now, this is something I don't really know, because I feel like there's been people that have had visions, but they haven't been with the eye or the ear, unless we're talking about their spiritual eyes and spiritual ears. So I don't know, but that's what he said. When you see a vision, pray for the interpretation. And Joseph Smith, he's talked about that a lot in regards to the scriptures, like when a prophet has a vision, um, God holds himself responsible to give an interpretation. And if there's not one, then you just wait until that time comes. In your personal life, yeah, that's definitely true. It's something that I've done, Jenica's done. I know a lot of you have probably done it too. You have a dream, you have a vision or something. Joseph Smith is saying, pray for the interpretation. Even with your own, it's funny because one of my last videos I was talking about privately interpreting the scriptures. It's like even with your own personal revelation, you should pray for interpretation rather than trying to like lean solely upon your own understanding. Okay, so pray for the invitation. If you get not this, shut it up. There must be certainty in this matter. That's interesting. I wonder. I wonder if we take the time to do that. Like, okay, I haven't gotten an interpretation, or if we just like run with it and think that we know what's going on. Okay, an open vision will manifest that which is more important. Lying spirits are going forth in the earth. There will be great manifestations of spirit, both false and true. Being born again comes by the Spirit of God through ordinances. An angel of God never has wings. I think we all know that by this point. Some will say that they have seen a spirit, that he offered them his hand, but they did not touch it. This is a lie. First, it is contrary to the plan of God. A spirit cannot come but in glory. An angel has flesh and bones. We see not their glory. Which, I mean, these are just things I don't really even. I mean, okay. So a spirit comes in glory. An angel has flesh and bones. So you'll remember, it may have even been in this section, D&C 129, where it teaches you what you should do if you encounter a visitor. That basically, I'm not gonna go to it, but basically, okay. So if you have a visitation, you ask for a handshake, and then a true spirit uh, with a message for you, will not shake your hand, but will go ahead and give the message, and you'll know that it's of God. I guess you'll feel it. If it's a false spirit, they will, and then you're not going to feel anything because Satan and his followers never got bodies. They were cast out, and they haven't proceeded to this point where they get bodies. And then if it's a resurrected person, they will, and then you'll feel their hands, and you'll know that they have a body, and therefore you know that it's not Satan or his followers. I know it sounds kind of weird, but that's what it says. That's what it says in, and I think it's this one, D&C 129. But anyway, so a spirit cannot come but in glory. An angel has flesh and bones. We see not their glory. So that's interesting. Um, Although he did say that when the angel Moroni showed up, there was like a lot of light. So I don't know if that doesn't count as glory. I don't know. The devil may appear as an angel of light. Ask God to reveal it. If it be the devil, he will flee from you. Okay, so do that. Do the handshake test, and then say a little prayer and ask it who this is. And then if it's the devil, he'll flee from you. Okay. If of God, he will manifest himself or make it manifest. We may come to Jesus and ask him. He will know all about it. If he comes to a little child, he will adapt himself to the language and capacity of a little child. Every spirit or vision or singing is not of God. The devil is an orator. He is powerful. He took our Savior onto a pinnacle of the temple and kept him in the wilderness for 40 days. The gift of discerning spirits will be given to the presiding elder. Pray for him that he may have this gift. Speak not in the gift of tongues without understanding it or without interpretation. That's like another weird. I don't even know what the purpose is of speaking in tongues, unless you're like we know, unless you're going on a mission where you need spiritual help. You need like a handicap to help you deliver your message in a foreign tongue, or interpreters, like church interpreters. But like this idea of like speaking in some unknown tongue, that doesn't even make any sense. I don't know why that would happen, but speak not in the gift of tongues without understanding it or without interpretation. The devil can speak in tongues. The adversary will come with his work. He can tempt all classes, can speak in English or Dutch. Let no one speak in tongues unless he interpret it, except by the consent of one who is placed to preside, then he may discern or interpret, or another may. So that's weird. It's like, uh, you can like do it. Uh, you shouldn't do it unless you have an interpretation for it. But if by your consent there's one who is presiding, then he may discern it or interpret it. So, like for example, I guess like if Joseph Smith was there, or the presiding elder. I don't know if I don't know. Okay, let us seek for the glory of Abraham, Noah, Adam, the apostles who have communion with these things, and then we shall be among that number when Christ comes. Okay, so there you go. Whatever. Sorry, I don't mean to make light of the prophet's words. Just it's like interesting stuff. I don't know what to say. All right. Here's the next one. Okay, BYU Jerusalem Center. I'm going to try and collect a lot of information about this as much as I can. Now, okay, so this is not from any particular speaker. This is from a church news article in the church news archive. It's called 49-Year Lease Assigned by BYU to Study in Jerusalem, for Study Center in Jerusalem. Okay, so I put this down because there's this thing that people say where it's like the BYU Jerusalem Center, it was part of the agreement that it wouldn't become a temple. And I haven't seen anything that substantiates that claim whatsoever. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I can't find it. If you have it, let me know. Um, I think what happens, and I don't mean to be, whatever, but sometimes people like it usually. You'll have people that go to the BYU Jerusalem Center as a student, and then later they'll come back, graduate, and then all of these years later, they'll hear me talking about the BYU Jerusalem Center, and then get a little defensive because it's like, oh, that's my BYU Jerusalem Center. I actually went there, and that's fine. I've had that kind of experience. Maybe with like the army or going to Spain or something like that. It's like I actually was there, but that doesn't mean that you know everything that there is to know about that experience, regardless of what the experience is. And it's been my proposal that the BYU Jerusalem Center could easily be turned into a temple. Again, I have to stress the church will not go against the laws of the land if there is some kind of agreement where they can't do that. A temple can be any shape. It doesn't have to be the standard temple that we have now. We know that the 24 temple complex in Independence, Missouri, once that's built, all the temples are going to have different functions. Some of them are just headquarter, kind of like offices, uh, similar to the church administration building uh, across from Temple Square, like on that other block with the church office building. There's the church administration building. So things like that. So the BYU Jerusalem Center could easily be turned into some kind of headquarters temple, you know. Um, it's kind of murky. It's been murky for me to try and discern, okay, is it the Jews that's going to build it? Because there are some quotes that seem to indicate that the Jews will build it. But at the same time, there's a lot of other things that seem to substantiate the idea that the BYU Jerusalem Center will become a temple. And both could be true. They could both be true. Who's to say that they're not both true? So anyway, this is talking about the agreement with the Israeli government about building the center. And the agreement, it has everything to do with proselyting. It doesn't have anything to do with how the church uses the building other than for the purposes of proselyting. So look, Richard said one of the concerns voiced by opponents to the center was it would be used in proselyting for the church. Quote, since the outset of the project, BYU officials have promised that the center would not be used for proselyting purposes, and that individuals associated with the center will be asked not to participate in any activities that might be viewed as proselyting, Richard said. And we went over that form. I showed it one time. I found it. You can just go to the BYU Jerusalem Center website. It's there. It tells you, it's like a thing that you sign. Okay, continuing. I guess this is still Richards. He says, students who do not conform to the provisions of the lease agreement in regards to proselyting will be dismissed from the program and sent home, end quote. The addendum to the lease also provides for a 5-member oversight committee composed of representatives of the Attorney General's office, the cabinet, the Jerusalem mayor's office, and the BYU Jerusalem Center that will review any planned public event associated with the center, as well as investigate claims of proselyting by BYU students, faculty, or staff. So it is not there, if I'm interpreting this correctly, this committee is basically set up to look into claims of proselyting and then planned public events. So I assume what they would be looking for is if like the church one day decided to like set up like maybe like a kiosk or something outside on the campus on like the street side with like pamphlets or something like that, or something that's like like proselyting in nature, I assume. But what it doesn't say is that you can only use this building as a campus, a satellite campus of BYU. I haven't seen anything that suggests that whatsoever. Not what's it. And if you have that information, send it my way. I'll add it to this, and then I'll be like, oh, well, there it is. But even that doesn't guarantee that the Lord can't change circumstances and turn it into a temple in some kind of way. But please, if you have that, please send it to me. I would like to have that. Okay, continuing, just a couple more sentences here. However, the committee will not have any jurisdiction over the operations. You see that? The operations, so like what? If it got turned into a temple? No jurisdiction. However, the committee will not have any jurisdiction over the operations or educational programs of the center, Richard said. The BYU Jerusalem Center long has been a target of criticism from outspoken leaders of the ultra-Orthodox Jewish sects. So that would be like the Haredim and the Hasidim, who for several years have expressed fears centered on the proselyting issue. That's what they're worried about. They're not worried about us doing religious services and doing temple things. They don't care. What they're concerned about is having their home after 2,000 years and not trying to convert people to Christianity, right? Okay, most of the much publicized demonstrations occurred in 1985 and 1986. And I have to wonder, this 5-member oversight committee, this article was written in 1988. Do they even, at this point, after so long, in such good behavior and a good track record from the church, do they even do anything at this point? How often do they meet? Maybe they still do, but I don't know. I'm sure at this point, the Israeli government and all interested parties are satisfied that it's not being used for proselyting. here comes a future video that I'm going to be doing, every nation, kindred, tongue, and people, because there's always the thing brought up, well, it can't possibly happen yet. We're not even close. It has to be taught to every single person in the world, or we have to have missionaries on the ground in every single country. So I'm going to put together all that I can and do a future video on that. Okay, here we go. Here's the next one, Garden of Eden. Okay, now this has to do with, um, I can't, did I already bring this up? I think I brought this up maybe. I don't know. About how, there's this idea that Salt Lake City is going to be the New Jerusalem. It's going to be, meaning the center place, that the headquarters, instead of Jackson County. Now, here's one thing that would just add to the logic that it would remain in Jackson County, because it has to do with the Garden of Eden. This is from Joseph Fielding Smith's Doctrines of Salvation, Volume 3, page 499. Garden of Eden and City Zion, same place. City Zion, he's specifying the actual city, the actual center place, okay, in Jackson County. In other parts of Doctrines of Salvation, he confirms that it's going to be in Jackson County, Missouri. So anyway, think about this. In accord with the revelations given to the prophet Joseph Smith, we teach that the Garden of Eden was on the American continent, located where the city Zion, or the New Jerusalem, will be built. Remember, back in 1954, Salt Lake City was already built, so he's not referring to Salt Lake City. He was the one that said that it was never the intention to substitute Salt Lake City for Jackson County. Okay, when Adam and Eve were driven out of the garden, they eventually dwelt at a place called Adam-on-Diamond, situated in what is now Davies County, Missouri. 3 years before the death of Adam, he called the righteous of his posterity at this place and blessed them. And it is in this place where Adam, or Michael, will sit, as we read in the 7th chapter of Daniel. So, yeah, we did talk about this recently. I pulled up the map. We talked about the proximity of Adam-on-Diamond to Independence. In fact, let's just do it again, but let's do it quicker. So, okay, so here's Independence, Missouri. It's part of the Kansas City metro area. And just right up here, Jameson, this is where, like this area right here, south of Jameson, is where Adam-on-Diamond is. So Adam and Eve cast out from here, went up here, and this is where their main, I guess, dwelling place was after being cast out from the Garden of Eden. So it makes sense that the future New Jerusalem, the center point, would be where the Garden of Eden was, right here, the Kansas City area. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, let's knock this one out. I know there's been a couple quotes about Joseph Smith being a pure Ephraimite, and I've heard some people rebuttal that. Both Brigham Young and now this statement from Joseph Fielding Smith say that he was a pure Ephraimite. So don't worry, I'm going to collect all the different quotes. Okay. President Young declares that Joseph Smith was a pure Ephraimite. This is true. Joseph Smith, father of the prophet, so Joseph Smith Sr., received the birthright in Israel, which he inherited through his fathers back to Ephraim and Joseph and Jacob to Abraham. For that reason, the patriarchal priesthood was conferred upon him with the commandment that it should be handed down from father to son. All right, so in that statement, he didn't stress too much the idea of being like 100%. I don't know if that's what's meant by pure Ephraimite, but frankly, that's how I take it. So I don't know. Okay, Kingdoms of Glory. Okay, this is one. Oh man, I think I think people have like a very wrong idea of how things are going to turn out in the judgment. Okay, degrees of glory. Um, And then even going into the millennium, because we know that it's only the people that are living a terrestrial or celestial life are going to be moving on to the millennium. If you're living a celestial life, you will not. You're considered part of the wicked. And I feel like there's a lot of people that struggle with understanding what wicked means because they think that it's like really extreme things, like people that go to jail. Even then, I think people struggle. It's like, well, they're not bad. Um, and it is an individual thing. I have no doubt that there's going to be some people that went to jail that are going to be okay because they've repented, they've changed their ways. So it's very individual, but at the same time, I feel like some people struggle. They don't want to call anything or anybody bad. And to their point, we're not really called to do so. We do have to judge for ourselves who we associate with. Um, and it's like we're not supposed to be completely ignorant of people and the path that they're taking in life and how that affects us and others. But okay, so what am I talking about? Okay, stop talking. Here we go. Every knee shall bow, every tongue confess. This is Joseph Fielding Smith, Doctrines of Salvation, Volume 2, page verse, page 238. I want to call attention to something that is stated frequently in the scriptures, and I think very often misunderstood. And that is the statement that every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. I wonder how many of us have an idea that if a knee bows and a tongue confesses, that is a sign of forgiveness of sin and freedom from sin, and that the candidate is prepared for exaltation. If you do, you make a mistake. It does not mean that at all. The time will come when every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess, and yet, now here it is. I'm going to see how many other quotes I can find that specify or kind of like give us an idea of the proportions of people that go to whatever place. But according to this, and yet the vast majority of mankind will go into the celestial kingdom eternally. Sorry, those are not my words. So please don't argue with me as though I'm saying this. I'm quoting from a prophet. Okay. I'm gonna look for other scriptures. I'm aware that there's a book out there called what's it called? Odds Are You're Going to Be Exalted. Now, I haven't read that book. I don't know what his thesis is, so I could be misinterpreting it. I'm not a big fan of the title because it implies, well, first of all, using the term odds, that's like the implication there is that it's up to chance, and it's not. It's completely under your control. I think that the point of the book is to give you comfort that obtaining exaltation is maybe not as hard as sometimes because I know that there's people that struggle with it. They think that they have to be perfect, which is not the case. We have the atonement. So I hope that that's the angle that he's taking it. But I'm not a big fan of the title because I don't think that's a true statement. I don't think that the odds are. Well, first of all, again, it's not down to odds, but like it makes it seem like most people will obtain exaltation. And I don't know if his intended audience is just members of the church or if he's talking about the world as a whole. If he's talking about the world as a whole, it doesn't seem like the odds are very good. And when I say odds, I just mean the way that things are going to play out, the percentages of who goes celestial, who goes terrestrial, who goes celestial. According to Joseph Fielding Smith, the vast majority of mankind will go into the celestial kingdom. As for the church, that's another thing that we don't really know. But when we talk about the parable of the 10 virgins, I've heard it said in one talk at least, he was talking about it as though like half of the church, I don't know if he was saying that they were celestial or simply not celestial. So maybe like the 50% are celestial and terrestrial while the other 50% are celestial. He said something like that. I'm gonna have to find it, but even like when it comes to the church, if we're talking about percentages, I don't think it's even that good. It sounds like it's like 50%. It could, when we're talking about uh, the 10 virgins, it could just simply be talking about people's state of spiritual preparedness at the second coming, and that's it, and not like a final thing. But I don't know. I don't know. So, okay, so here we go. So the vast majority of mankind will go into the celestial kingdom eternally. Well, I got to say this too. I got to say this too. Um, Another thing I think people mess up on is, even if you've lived in the church your whole life, I think sometimes we take the view of these other Christian churches that there's heaven and then there's hell, and that hell is a place of torment. Um, a place that looks like this. Let's see. Bill and Ted 3. By the way, this is a really, really good show. Like, as far as like, it's not like unbearable with like the badness. It's actually pretty good for a general audience. But this is one of my favorite parts in the show, because this guy is hilarious. He's death. This is not Satan. This is the Grim Reaper. And he has like hopscotch, and he has like these games outside. But anyway, this is literally what I think a lot of our Christian brothers and sisters from other churches uh, believe that hell is like. And this is not our view. So when Joseph Fielding Smith says that the vast majority of mankind will go to the telestial kingdom eternally, I do not think that that's what. Well, I know that this is not what they're facing. It's definitely not the worst thing in the world. We know that the telestial glory is better than where we live right now. Joseph Smith is recorded as having said that you would kill yourself to get there if you knew how good it was. Okay, so we have to get this idea. um, he's like this. Oh gosh, this part. He gets this unexpected visit from Bill and Ted because they need his help, and he's like, "Oh, well, look who it is. Are you here to sue me a second time?" I guess, like, okay, spoilers if you haven't watched this. I guess what happened was they sued him because he was trying to take the name of the band and go it alone. And anyway, what else was I going to say? Oh, I can't remember, but this part was just hilarious. I guess they sued him, and then because he helped them in the second movie, he got demoted. He's like, when I helped you guys, I got in a lot of trouble down here. I got demoted. Oh my gosh, I would recommend that movie. It's good. It's funny, and it's almost entirely clean, actually. Okay, so okay, so the vast majority of mankind will go into the celestial kingdom eternally. Let me read these verses. The time shall come when all shall see the salvation of the Lord, when every nation, kindred, tongue, and people shall see eye to eye, and shall confess before God that his judgments are just. It is a wonderful thing when men reach the stage when they will be willing to confess that the judgments against them are just, and they will bow the knee and will understand eye to eye. But see what happens, but see what this prophet says further. And they shall, and then shall the wicked be cast out. They shall have cause to howl and weep and wail and gnash their teeth, and this because they would not hearken unto the voice of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord redeemeth them not, and yet they confess. I know, I know a lot of people are waiting for this point. You've had people that have wronged you, and even though we're commanded to forgive, and I hope that all of us do, that you let it go. There is still justice. Like you can't just like forgive and that's it, because then it would just be pure mercy. We are commanded to forgive. We should forgive, but also just know that at some point, those people that have horribly just done things to you, uh, they are going to see that they were wrong, and but it's going to be just. That's why we can't judge right now. Why we can't issue judgment. I mean, we have laws in our countries, and the Lord is good with that. He's the one that inspired the Constitution. We need to have laws. But I'm talking about like on a personal level, we do not carry out judgment because we wouldn't carry out a perfect judgment. And one thing that I think kind of rings true to me about near death experiences, I don't believe most of them, but there are some that I think are actually for real. And one pretty common theme is that, like, when your life flashes before your eyes, essentially what they describe is like you see your entire life through your point of view, but then you also see it through the other person's point of view, the people that you've uh, done good to, but also the people that you've wronged, and then you see the way that you affected them. Now, I think that's true because in the scriptures it talks about how we're going to have a bright recollection of all of our guilt, and so an experience like that would definitely be very bright, and then you would fully understand why what you did was wrong. The way that it is right now, people can just do what they do and then pretend like they haven't done anything wrong, have no shame, no guilt, no remorse, but they will be facing that in the future. They can kind of escape it now to an extent. They still have it like in the back of their mind, their conscience, that the light of Christ is letting them know, hey, that was messed up what you did. And they can like fight against that, create delusions, justify themselves. But when it comes down to it, they will have a bright recollection of their guilt, and they are gonna. I mean, here it is right here. They're gonna be willing to confess that the judgments against them are just. They're gonna realize. So hopefully that gives some of you a little bit of comfort, knowing that people are not just gonna get away scot free. But when they do receive that judgment and have that experience, it's going to be perfectly just according to the Lord's judgment. So, all right, continuing. For they are carnal and devilish, and the devil has power over them. Yea, even the old serpent that serpent that did beguile our first parents, which was the cause of their fall, which was the cause of all mankind becoming carnal, sensual, devilish, knowing evil from good, subjecting themselves to the devil. Thus all mankind were lost, and behold, they would have been endlessly lost were it not that God redeemed his people from their lost and fallen state. So do not get an idea that because they bow the knee and confess with the tongue, or as it reads in the other scriptures, see eye to eye, that this is going to exalt them into the celestial kingdom of God, because they're going to be judged according to their works and receive their dominion according to the plan that has been appointed and prepared according to the justice and tempered by the mercy of the Lord. I had to stop for a second to go turn off this timer that was beeping. I should probably end it here. So, I hope you enjoyed this. I did. I'd like your feedback to know if like this type of video was good. Just having just kind of like a smorgasbord of different topics, going over different quotes, even though it's not like one uh, overarching theme for the video. Let me know. For me, I liked it. Did you? And it's okay. Let me know if you didn't like it or if you did, because maybe that's what I'll just do as I keep collecting different quotes. And I don't have enough to make uh, a one themed video with a bunch of different quotes, then I'll just kind of like hit these up and then in the future go back to it and include it into a grander, like a larger video. Okay, yeah. So um that's gonna I, li- I like how like his makeup is just like he has black around his eyes, but it's not because like he's like a skull or anything. It's just like black makeup around his eyes. Oh my goodness. I was like fully prepared for this movie not to be good. I never saw the second one. I saw the first one. I've never seen the second one, which now I kind of want to. But this third one was just, I can't believe that they were able to pull it off and actually have it be a good movie. I feel like there's so few movies nowadays when they're doing these like soft reboots and sequels and prequels and whatever. I feel like so many times they miss the mark. Uh, with a few exceptions, like Top Gun, that was good. The new Top Gun Maverick, and then Bill and Ted. This was good. So believe me, this like looks really this looks really bad right here. But I think for an LDS audience, it's a pretty good movie. I wouldn't be embarrassed to watch this around, bishop or stake president or general authority. I mean, you can't virtually watch anything without something coming up. But I'm saying relatively, this is a pretty appropriate movie to watch. So, all right, well, that's gonna be. Look at this scene. It's like Napoleon Dynamite. Napoleon. I wonder if Napoleon Dynamite's over here somewhere and he plays with death sometimes. Okay. Okay. I can't get through without laughing. Okay. If you if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.